Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier, with some concluding thoughts on containment, which I hope will gather together some useful points for you. In considering the crises that we've looked at, and the arms race too, we might want to ponder on three of the key questions in history. What happened? Why? And to what effect? What happened is a descriptive exercise, and you will want to think about the essential points that you feel must be included in any what question. Remembering 4 relevant points will give you 4 marks. Why the crises happened would best be answered by moving from how it could be seen as a Cold War issue to the more specific question of why Korea, why Cuba, why Vietnam. From this, there might be scope for you to also consider whether America was right to see these crises as a Cold War issue, and so whether it made the right decision to get involved. With regard to the effects of the issues we've explored in this topic, there are some basic points to consider, and I'll include what happened in post-war Europe. The Truman Doctrine drew a line under Soviet expansionism. America saved Greece from falling under communist control in 1947. The Marshall Plan supported most of Western Europe, but Eastern Europe had been, in inverted commas, lost. There was partial success in Korea. South Korea remained free from communism, though invading North Korea was shown to be a mistake. China was well and truly brought into the Cold War with the Korean War. The UN supported America in Korea, and the UN was accused of bias by the Soviet Union. Taiwan and Japan did not fall to the communists either. Now, moving on to Cuba, the Bay of Pigs was embarrassing for America, though Kennedy stood up to Khrushchev over missiles in Cuba. Khrushchev was seen to have misjudged Kennedy and was forced to back down. However, Cuba remained a festering sore in America's backyard, and communist influences spread from Cuba to other countries in Latin America, though a hotline was set up and a partial test ban treaty was signed. Moving on now to Vietnam, America misjudged Vietnam from first to last. Vietnam was lost to the communists, and the dominoes did fall in Laos and Cambodia. America lost the moral high ground in the way it fought its war in Vietnam, as well as dividing its own country over the matter. Though the dominoes didn't fall in Burma, today's Myanmar, or in Thailand, or Malaysia, or other countries. But for a deeper evaluation of containment, I think 4 things should be considered. To what extent was America's action successful? And in answering this question, you should look at both short-term and long-term, and so you will need to complete all 3 Cold War topics. And even if you think it was successful, you might still consider whether it was worth the price. To what extent did it raise, or in the long term, lower tensions? How dangerous was it? Did either side run the risk of proliferating a local issue into something much bigger? Did it weaken or strengthen American resolve to contain communism? Was containment ultimately successful? Did it win, again in inverted commas, did it win the Cold War? Again, you will need to cover the complete series of topics. And finally, a difficult question, because it's ultimately impossible to properly answer. Would containment have been successful without getting involved in the different crises? And just one more thing for you to think about. You might be asked to compare two of the crises. For example, were the causes for the Korean War and the Vietnam War similar? Was Korea more dangerous for world peace than the Cuban Missile Crisis? Was the Cuban Missile Crisis a more successful example of containment than Vietnam? Were the consequences to the Vietnam War more problematic to the Americans than the consequences to the Korean War? Check out as many past questions as you can and think about your responses. It's the same knowledge you are using, but you need to make the right selections for specific questions, and that gets easier with practice. So there you are, and a reminder on this slide that the Cold War began and ended in Europe. I think that's a dozen presentations I've downloaded on containment for you. I hope you find them helpful. If I can help with tutorials, just get in touch with me. Or better still, get your parents to at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can sort something out. But for now, let me thank you for listening. The very best of luck with your studies. Cheers.